And that's my first point is when you're on a mission, when you're on the pursuit of something, focus on the pursuit of the purpose. That is super fulfilling. Results are great, but they're not as fulfilling as you think they are.
Fulfillment is about alignment. It's about optimization. It's about personal development. It's about understanding your uniqueness and contributing to the world.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, live weekly NLU podcast for week number 85. As Alan mentioned in his wonderful preamble, we are going to talk about how to find fulfillment in your life. I remember Alan and I in the basement studio talking about fulfillment, and I was like, I don't know that I've ever felt that. Very early in our journey, it was a word I didn't know. It was a feeling and experience I don't know that I ever experienced. And I think that a lot of people go through their life wondering what fulfillment for them might actually be. Our goal today is to raise your awareness and help you figure out what it is, because if you go through a life without fulfillment, it's probably not the life you were designed to live. And we want to help you design that life.
I remember Kevin and I gave a speech at the Confident Women's Consortium, and at the tail end of my speech, I basically said, I do not wish for any of you to have an easy life. I wish for you to have a challenging but deeply meaningful life. And I think that's really what fulfillment is about. So I have a book that I'm locking myself in. So I'm publicly stating that this book will be coming out in 2022 at some point, most likely the tail end of 2022. But I'm currently writing it, and my goal is to write 3 paragraphs a day. But the first page is pretty rock solid, and so I want to read it real quick because the book is called Optimizing for Fulfillment. Now, obviously, anything is subject to change because I got to look and make sure no other books have that title, blah, blah, blah. But this is what it currently is. The very first introduction is called Dear Reader. Welcome to Optimizing for Fulfillment. Right up front, I want to be honest and explicit with you about what this book is and perhaps more importantly, what it is not. This book is designed to help you improve your life. It is not for entertainment. This book is for people who want to maximize their potential. It is not for those who don't. This book is practical, actionable, and scientific. It is not silly, playful, or even fun, honestly. This is a serious book for serious people who intend to make a serious difference in the world. It is not for anyone who doesn't. As you can tell from my opening, I am not one to waste time. I don't intend to waste your time or mine. In fact, that opening is designed to wean out the faint-hearted who aren't committed to real change. If that last paragraph excited you, excellent. This book is for you. If it didn't, then perhaps not, and that's okay. The truth is that I spent far too much of my life tiptoeing and not being my full self. The last thing I want is for you to do the same by reading a book that isn't in alignment. That's the opposite of fulfillment. If this book isn't for you, you already know it. If you're unsure, perhaps it's because, like me, you are scared of your own greatness. Maybe you're uncomfortable and don't want to change. Or maybe you're comfortable and don't want to change. Maybe you want to change but don't believe you can. Perhaps you're not fulfilled and you know it, but facing that is really scary. Why? Because once you admit you're unfulfilled, then you have to do something about it or stay that way. Like I said, this isn't a fun book to help you feel good about where you are or who you are now. This is a serious book to help you actually face the difficult truths about where you are, who you are, and the way you've chosen to live up to this point. Here's the good news. No matter who you are now or how hard your life has been, you have a spotless future. If a plane flying from Boston to LA stays just 1 degree off course, it'll end up 150 miles away from its desired destination. Like me, you are one decision away from an entirely different life, and I can think of no more empowering thought. Before we continue, however, it's important that we get to know each other. When it comes to learning, it's not just about the message, it's about the messenger. It's important that you know who I am and why I am specifically qualified to write this book. And then it starts as where it all began, and it goes through my story. But the reason I wanted to read that is because it's about fulfillment. I didn't know this growing up, but fulfillment is the soul's recognition of alignment with its highest calling. And fulfillment is what we should all be optimizing for. Not pleasure, not happiness, not joy, but fulfillment. Fulfillment is about creating a deeply meaningful life that is designed based on your unique strengths and weaknesses, designed, and it's on your own terms.
Wonderfully said.
Thank you,
Wonderfully
brother.
said. So we're just going to get right into it. We're going to get right
It'd be
into it.
nice if I could read, though, right?
Well, I was wondering where my ability and my opportunity to give a little preface was. I didn't, I didn't hear anything from a shout out from Kevin in there, but that's okay. I suppose we'll be okay. So I've told this story. I don't know if I've told it a lot on the podcast, but I tell it a lot of times on other podcasts when people are trying to get to know me. Probably a year and a half into this journey, I was walking around the kitchen, and I lived with my best friend. I was renting a room from him, and we were living together, and we were chasing our dreams together, and it was awesome. But he was at work one day, and I was walking around the kitchen, and there were no clients, there were no speeches, there were no listens, there was very little opportunity. And I was broke, and I was single, and I was lonely, and I was scared. But I remember walking around my kitchen, and for the first time in my life, I felt really good about myself. I felt really fulfilled because I was focused on the pursuit and the purpose behind it. I knew Alan and I were getting closer to alignment. I knew that, the money hasn't come, and it seems like we're losing a lot of the time, but I felt on purpose. I felt like I was living intentionally, and that was really the first time in my life where I had really felt that. Another time, Alan and I, we both grew up in Massachusetts, and in Massachusetts, there was a radio station called WAAF based out of Boston, and one of the morning people, her name is Danielle Murr, and Alan and I literally listened to her. I used to work at a gas station. I used to listen to them every single day. Every single morning. When I went and drove trucks, I listened to them every single day, Monday through Friday. I think they were on at 7 to 10. Were they on 7 to 10?
Yeah, I think so.
And I used to listen to them
earlier than that, even. I think 5 a.m. to like 10.
My goodness. Like so I would listen to them. Alan would listen to them. And one of the people on there was Danielle Murr. And Alan and I both resonated with her because you could tell that, yes, she's a radio personality, but she has depth, and she can definitely talk about deep stuff, and she has definitely had an interesting life and interesting experiences. And we were grateful enough to be able to go to her house. She literally invited us to her house, two men she'd never met before, and we got to interview her about her life and success, and at the time it was hyperconsciousness. And it was amazing. Give her a hug on the way out, and it was like, it was a very surreal moment for me. On the way home, Alan and I stopped down the street on a beach, and we were just watching the waves come in, and I was literally crying. I had tears streaming down my face because I felt so aligned, and things that I didn't believe were possible were happening for me. And that is fulfilling. That's the ultimate fulfillment. And the last point on this first thing here, when Alan and I were coming back from the first time I had ever gone to a Brendan Burchard event, I was having a bunch of panic attacks. I've told that story so many times, but we're out in Arizona, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm in a room where I belong. I feel like I'm in a room with a bunch of amazing people who want to know me and get to know me on a deeper level. And this was the hardest week of my life. Alan and I were just grinding and going to the gym and learning and just so out of our comfort zones. But I'll never forget looking over Arizona when we were flying out and just literally crying because I was so proud of myself. I was so fulfilled. I felt so on purpose. If you've never felt that, it's okay. It's okay, but you have to figure out what is the pursuit that you want to be on. And I know you'll hear a lot of people say, don't worry about the result, right? Disengage from the result. Don't expect the result. And that's my first point is when you're on a mission, when you're on the pursuit of something, focus on the pursuit of the purpose. That is super fulfilling. Results are great, but they're not as fulfilling as you think they are.
That was a huge dream come true, interviewing Danielle as well, because I worked for a company called Sensata Technologies, and I was a global product manager there. But back then, I was very unfulfilled. I was making, I think, like almost six figures. I was early out of college. I had just got my MBA. And I remember every single night for like a month, I would go to my buddy Kiki's house. He was a neighbor of mine. I was living at home at the time where I grew up. And we would play an old game that we used to play together on PlayStation. It's called Twisted Metal. We would just, as kids, we used to play this every day after school, and we just started playing again as adults. And I remember I would drink. He wouldn't drink, but I would while we were playing. And then the next day at my job, I remember going to the job, going in, working, and then I would take a nap. I would literally, it was in this big complex. And Sensata Technologies used to be Texas Instruments, so if you've ever used one of their calculators, you know what I'm talking about. But it was in this big complex. And there was a YMCA in the complex, and I used to go to the Y in the back parking lot. I used to take a nap while listening prior to napping, I would listen to Danielle Murr on the Hillman Morning Show. And I remember I was so unfulfilled back then, and I was quote unquote successful, but I was really not taking good care of my body. I wasn't that into fitness. Again, I was in the parking lot of a Y, but I didn't work out, that whole thing. And basically, I remember thinking to myself, like, she's so knowledgeable. I remember thinking, like, what would it be like to meet someone like that? I want to meet someone like that. And I remember I got to tell her in person how much she inspired me. I'm pretty sure if you went back and listened to that episode, I think it was episode 24 with Danielle Murr. And I remember telling her that story of, like, now I get to meet people like that constantly. And at one point I was in my car in a parking lot taking a nap because I had drank the night before, listening to Danielle Murr. Now I'm like friends with her at that time. And I was in her house. It's wild. It's wild what can happen. And honestly, I do know that a lot of my heroes I'm going to end up meeting. And now I have more confidence in that than ever before. But it's really important to understand that at the end of the day, and I've got a bunch of points here, Kevin does too, fulfillment is really about you. It's about, are you proud of who you are? And not the ego pride, but like, are you proud of the choices that you're making? It's about keeping the promises you make to yourself. It's about when you say you're going to work out and don't, you're going to take a fulfillment hit. Doing hard and necessary things in alignment with your greatest self is what's fulfilling. Contributing beyond yourself is also fulfilling. So I just wanted to mention that because you mentioned Danielle Murr and it came to me. So
26. Danielle was 26.
Oh, I was 26. Oof, I was off by 2.
You were close.
Thank you, brother. Okay. So this whole thing kind of came about because I have a diagnostic that I take my clients through. Some of my clients have been through it, some of them haven't. So if you haven't yet, ask me about it. But it's basically a pyramid with 5 levels. And the bottom level, the most important level, because my point that I wrote down here is fulfillment starts from the ground up. I remember I was on the phone with an NLU team member, and this person, if they're listening, will know who I'm talking about. But basically, I go through this diagnostic, okay? At the very bottom level, sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, and mobility, and then like body upkeep / maintenance checks, like dental, hygiene, that kind of thing. That's the bottom layer. Because if you allow that to erode, everything else is going to erode above that. And so I asked, okay, sleep, from 0 to 10, how well are you getting quality, uninterrupted sleep? And she said 3. I said, 3? How many hours are you getting? She said, 3, maybe 4. At the time, this person was really having a lot of challenges. She was having family challenges and then extended family challenges, like immediate family challenges. And I remember saying to her, I said, to be completely transparent, for the last couple weeks, you've been challenged with a lot of stuff. And from my perspective, now that I understand that sleep is a 3 and you're only getting maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, until you solve that, the rest of the world is going to feel like the sky is falling. And that's the exact verbiage I used. If you're getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, trust me, it's going to feel like the sky is falling. I remember even back when I used to drink, when I was hungover, I mean, it would be terrible. Everything felt worse when you're hungover. For anyone who's been hungover before, it's the worst. Imagine living in a perpetual state of hungover. That's what it's like when you're not hydrating, when you're not getting good sleep, when you're not taking care of yourself. So the bottom of the pyramid of fulfillment, and my first point, fulfillment starts from the ground up. Don't let the ground part, the level 1 part, erode out from underneath you.
I did not get a lot of sleep. I was telling Alan this. I didn't get a lot of sleep, so I can tell you that today has not been as enjoyable as it usually is. We've been on camera since 11 a.m., doing business stuff and all that, but it just hasn't been as fulfilling. It hasn't been as easy. It hasn't been as in alignment because I'm struggling because I didn't get any sleep. So that's definitely part of it. I thought you were going to say something.
I think
just
both of our... No, it's important. Sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, mobility. Remember, taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's actually very selfless if you're trying to serve the world. So it's important.
I remember, before I get to my next point, I remember back in the day when I was doing my construction job, I remember I routinely slept like 5 hours. That was kind of like an average night's sleep for me. And I didn't realize until after how foggy I was and how much that was hurting me.
becomes normal. You don't know any different.
It was very normal, but I'm glad I changed it. Okay, so as you know, Alan and I are doing another event in March 26th. We're doing Next Level Live. We're going to be doing a live event. We're super excited. For those of you who don't know, a couple of years ago, we did, was it last year? No, a couple of years, 2 years ago.
January 2020.
We did Top Notch Live, an event that we co-hosted in Lowell, Massachusetts. And we've done some episodes on it and what it took out of us and how difficult it was. But just for time's sake, it was just a whole stretch for us where we were trying to grow the podcast and we were trying to grow clients and we're trying to figure out how to put on a live event and make money and get a venue and get people flown across the country. It was this whole thing. And we prepped for like 3 months for this. And the day of, it was awesome. Alan and I spoke, and Brant Pinvidic spoke, and Mark Metry, and Tori Aletto, and Shauna Pelton, and we had a lot of amazing people that spoke, and it was awesome. But it was also one of the most difficult things I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I'll never forget, after dinner, everybody went to dinner after the event, the team, and the people who did the camera work, and the speakers, and we went to dinner, and afterwards I was walking out, and it was raining, and it was cold, and I remember getting into my car, and I was just sitting there for a second. And I was like, my goodness, that was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my entire life, but I feel amazing. Again, tapping into that, I felt fulfilled. I felt in alignment. I felt like, yes, this was very, very difficult, but I feel like I've proven something to myself, and that helped me believe in myself even more. And Alan and I, driving from South Florida to Northern Florida, we drove 6 or 7 hours one night at 2 a.m, and it was just like, looking back, all of the difficult things that we did, all of the difficult work that we've done that's been in alignment is super fulfilling. I wouldn't change it for the world. I genuinely wouldn't change it for the world. A lot of the most fulfilling things that we have ever done have been the most difficult, but they're also the most in alignment. And that's the point here is, I think when you hear a lot of people talk about fulfillment, it's very spiritual and it's very, you got to be on purpose and in alignment and making sure you're only doing what you want. And I think they're missing a giant part of it is when you do something difficult, you are proving something to yourself. And when you prove something to yourself, that's fulfilling. It makes you feel good about you. It makes you proud, like Alan said. I think pride and fulfillment are very, very closely connected. And I don't think people talk about that enough.
Well, the thing is, you can't grow unless you do difficult things. Yeah. And fulfillment can only come when you grow and then contribute beyond yourself. And one of the things that I wanted to add to Kevin's little synopsis there is, and I didn't plan on talking about this, but my second one that I wrote down was fulfillment and regret are the two best teachers. Now, the story that I was going to tell, I'm actually going to pivot. So after I was 26 and I got in that car accident, I was filled with regret, and I was like, holy crap, what if that was it? And I was questioning my entire life. And that's why I feel like regret is one of the best teachers. And so who better to learn about regret than the terminally ill? And so I found a book, and I've realized how obvious it is now. Like, my father passed away when I was 2 years old in a car accident. I was 26, and I got in a really bad car accident, and I've seen the pictures of his car, and I've seen the pictures of my car, and I usually show them in my speeches, and it's like they're very similar. So I'm very, very blessed to have gotten a second chance that my dad never got. And so I had a second chance to turn it all around. And I came across a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. You've heard me talk about this so many times. The reason why is because I almost died. And then I noticed a book that I had never noticed before because I was in deep emotional pain and I was unfulfilled, and I had to find answers. Remember, when you succeed, you celebrate. When you fail, you contemplate. You contemplate your life. You contemplate your choices. You contemplate your future. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, but it's so challenging. And again, that goes off what Kevin said about challenge and hard things. Doing hard things are meaningful. So I found this book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. For those of you who don't know, Bronnie Ware is a woman from Australia. We've actually since interviewed her, which was a huge, huge W. I think it was episode in the early 400s. And she wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. She worked in hospice for 8 years with the terminally ill. Who better to learn about regret from than the terminally ill? So she worked in hospice, and she noticed these same regrets over and over and over again, these same patterns of regret. And To this day, I have a flashcard in my pocket that I've carried ever since I found that book. It's actually right over there. It's not in my pocket. I got to be honest. Number one regret of the dying. I wish I had lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. Okay, prior to 26, I was definitely guilty of what a lot of us are guilty of, which is living outside of alignment with my core aspirations, my core values, my core beliefs, based on what society wants for me, or what my mom wants for me, or what my family wants for me, or what my friends think I should or shouldn't be. And after 26, when you get mortality motivation, you just kind of stop that. And I've been more percentage ever since then, in alignment with who I really am, who I really aspire to be. And so the point I want to make here is that fulfillment and regret are the best teachers. Look back at your life. I just turned 33 this past week, and I looked back at my life. I keep saying this. I keep rereading my life from this higher sense of awareness. Look back on your life. What was fulfilling? What was the most fulfilling experiences you've had? Not the most fun, not the most pleasurable, the most fulfilling. There's clues in there about who you aspire to be. There's clues in there about your core values. There's clues in there that you can take those lessons and invest them. We just did an episode on basically episode 800. It's dropping Wednesday. And it's about how do we take the last 799 episodes and take the top 5 lessons and invest them into the 800th episode.
My name is Nathan Schwermann. I'm from Lawrence, Kansas. I've been a client of Alan's for coming on 2 years now, and I really can't recommend his program enough. Alan's always there for me with great advice and holding me accountable every step of the way, and really leading by example. I've grown a lot in his program, but he's grown alongside with me, so I'd really recommend joining up on the program and joining the community.
So fulfillment and regret are the best teachers. Review the book of your life, reread the book of your life, and ask yourself, what do I regret? Be honest, it's okay. Yes, I regret drinking so much and so often. Yes, I regret some of the choices that I made. It's okay. That doesn't mean I'm going to beat myself up. That doesn't mean I'm a terrible person. I was 16 or 18 or 21 or 24, right? I was young. I was trying to figure it out just like everybody. Okay? All of us should be getting wiser with age. I'm wiser at 33 than I was at 32, and I'll be wiser at 34 than I am at 33. I'll know more about myself. I'll know more about the listeners. I'll know more about Kevin. I'll know more about business, and I'll make better decisions. And why? Because I'm studying fulfillment and I'm studying regret. I'm studying every single day what fulfills me and why. What do I regret and why? Being unkind to Emilia. Regret that, right? My birthday, 33rd birthday, with me, Tucker, and Emilia having an amazing night together, super fulfilling. See, there's lessons in all of it. You just have to look from the frame of fulfillment and regret, not pleasure and fun and all that other shiny stuff.
Bronny was 202.
202. Oh
202.
My God, I thought it was later than that. 202.
No,
I've been off.
It was. We were still
0 for 2 on this episode.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Luckily, we have that new master sheet, huh?
Right. Bronny was when we weren't doing video. We were still in your sister's old room for Bronny.
It's wild.
It's wild.
I was a huge fanboy on that episode, by the way.
Yes,
so if you go back and listen, I was like, Bronny, that was awesome. Huge dream come true.
It was. Alan mentioned that it's not always going to be pleasurable. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to seem fun. So right now, and this is going to sound weird, but right now, I am dieting because as we've talked about in other episodes, Alan and I were in Florida recently, and that was the first time in a minute that we'd had the opportunity to take our shirts off and be on a beach. And there was a picture taken of us, and Alan and I looked at it, and we were like, oh, wow, I'm not proud of that. Not in a shaming way. I didn't shame Alan. Alan didn't shame me. It was more like, I'm capable of way... Alan seems to argue that. I'm capable of way more than I'm currently presenting. So right now, I'm like physically hurting with the amount of hungry that I am. Now, again, this is a fine line. But I feel good about the progress that I'm making towards my body goal because I know when I'm not in shape, and this is me, and this is my experience, not for everybody, right? But when I'm not in shape, I'm not in alignment. I'm just not. I'm not as happy because I'm not as proud of what I'm creating. And when you know what you're capable of, you don't necessarily feel good when you're living below your own standards. So for me, waking up every day and the first thing I do is jumping on the scale. Then I track every calorie that goes into my body and I crush my workouts and I do my mobility. And honestly, I feel like I'm on my shit. Like I feel like I'm on my shit. I feel like I'm doing what I should be doing. That is super fulfilling. Every day when I wake up and I track Alan and I's business finances and I see where the money's going and I see we got new clients and I see that we have higher money than we ever have, that's fulfilling because that's progress. But you have to hold yourself accountable because nobody else can do it for you. If you are consistently breaking promises to yourself, you're not going to be fulfilled. You're not going to feel good about yourself. You're not going to be very hopeful for the future because you're not going to be proud of the way you're showing up. Now, again, we all break promises to ourselves. So every day is not going to be a 10 out of 10. But start doing the stuff that you said you were going to do. I feel, and Alan, I told you this today, everything just is good right now. Like everything's really good. Like clients are great, relationships awesome, the gym's been awesome, but I've been doing the hard things when it comes to all of those things, and that's why I feel fulfilled there. So I'm going to continue reiterating that fulfillment doesn't mean easy. It doesn't mean lack of conflict. It doesn't mean painless. It means moving closer to alignment, and that requires growth, like Alan said, and growth is just not easy.
100%. Fire, man. And he's on point with his PPT, coming up on 100% week, which is honestly
I'm coming.
very challenging.
Everybody on the NLU team, I'm coming for you. If you want to beat me this week, you better get 100% because I'm not going to miss. Mark my words.
I love it.
Thanksgiving and all, I'm not going to miss.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Keeping the promises that Kevin's made to himself. That's the game. Number 3, fulfillment really is about quality over quantity. I'm going to tell this story. I've never told this before, and I'm a little bit scared to tell it, yeah. So on my 21st birthday, I was in a fraternity, and I went to Worcester Polytech. And I was in a fraternity called Alpha Chi Rho. We've actually since spoken at their national convention, which was awesome. And the fraternity is great and all that, but basically on your 21st birthday, they have a tradition. They bring you to this place called Ralph's. As a matter of fact, it's right next to the studio, which is hilarious. That's where Ralph's is, yeah.
Classic.
And they bring you to Ralph's, and every brother buys you a drink. Okay? I did some partying in college. I was known as someone who did drink frequently, and so everybody came and bought me a drink. 21. Hell yeah, 21. I ended up sleeping over my buddy's place that night, puking in the morning, and then I hit my head on the back windowsill because I had fallen down. And I went to walk home. He's like, "Are you going to be okay?" I'm like, "I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be good." And I ended up taking me a really long time to get home. I ended up getting lost in Worcester for a long time. People were super worried about me. My girlfriend at the time had set up balloons and stuff in my room, and everybody was worried about me. And I was lost for a long time, and I was kind of still somewhat drunk in the morning, right? The reason I'm telling this story is because as much fun as stuff like that was, and I'm not going to lie, I had a lot of fun in high school, a lot of fun in college, okay? And for those of you who have never done anything like that, I'm not going to discourage you from experimenting because I know that I'm not going to have that midlife crisis of oh, I wish I had more fun in my youth, right? I know that. But what I can tell you is that on my 33rd birthday, it was very different than my 21st. My 33rd birthday, Emilia asked me what I wanted to do, and judge me if you will, but I wanted to watch a movie with her and with Tucker, and I wanted to eat Nico's, which is this unbelievable fried chicken place or broasted chicken place. Yeah. Unbelievable. And she made me this huge homemade banana split. The thing is unbelievably big. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even finish it, which is odd for me because normally I can eat so much. But I told her literally the next day, it was the best night of my life. And, the thing is it's quality over quantity. Fulfillment really is quality over quantity. I've had, in my early 20s, I had some ragers. I had some bashes. I threw parties for my birthdays. On my 26th, we went to Mohegan, and we had 30-plus people, and it was a blast. I had a lot of fun, okay? It was not nearly as fulfilling as me, Emilia, and Tucker watching the new Beauty and the Beast movie and just eating food and just having deep, meaningful conversations and making love and all these wonderful things. So quality over quantity, fulfillment. I remember I used to say this when I was in my early 20s. I said, how am I going to be in all these wedding parties? I remember I was going to be the best man in like 5 different weddings, and I was going to be in the wedding party of like 6 others. And I remember like I'm projected to be in like 11 weddings, 6 plus 5, 11. And it's like, how am I going to do that? Guys, I'm going to be completely transparent. After 26, I went all in on my dreams, all in on holistic self-improvement. I went all in on alignment, core aspirations, core values, core beliefs. Okay, my friendships have suffered. I'm going to be in 0 wedding parties now. And it's okay. Why? Because I'm a million times more fulfilled. On my birthday, I got messages from a lot of those people. Okay, I still have love for all of those people. If they're listening or watching now, I still have love for you. But I will not leave alignment. I will not go outside of alignment anymore for anyone or for anything. Okay? Alignment is where fulfillment lives. Fulfillment is a byproduct of living in your calling based on your own growth and your own contribution, based on core aspirations, core values, and core beliefs. It is about quality over quantity. Kevin used to have a lot more friends. I used to have a lot more friends. Okay, I used to have corporate friends and college friends and high school friends. I used to have middle school friends that stayed with me for so long. In my early 20s, I was everybody's friend. Okay, now I don't have nearly as many friends. We have the incredible NLU team. We have the NLU community. I have Kevin. You know, we still have family and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I don't spend a lot of quality time with my friends because I'm on a mission. Now, that's me. But the lesson here for each and every one of you is trust me. As you get older and older and older, anyone who's older and wiser will tell you this: quality over quantity.
I want to just touch on something Alan said, that if the people in your life are pulling you out of alignment, it's probably time to find new people, places, things, and ideas that stop doing it, particularly now with the holidays. I know we're talking, it's Thanksgiving this week and it's holiday season. When you're around family, and if you leave that interaction, you leave the party, you leave the dinner, whatever it is, and you're feeling unfulfilled, ask yourself, how authentic was I with who I am as a person? How in alignment was I? If you're saying, you know what, I don't want to drink this holiday season, and when you're around your family, you get pressured into drinking and you leave feeling fulfilled and unfulfilled and disappointed, that's because you went out of alignment and you allowed somebody to take you out of alignment. So that's an important thing to check in with. I don't know that people give enough credit to their environment and their friendships and their relationships, whether it's family, intimate, friends. That has a lot to do with your fulfillment, because that's what you're surrounding yourself with for a lot of your life. Did Alan just freeze, or is that on my end? Okay, we're good. All right, last point I have. So I was on the phone or on Zoom with a client the other day, and she was basically saying, I love my podcast, but I want more clients. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's get you more clients. And over the last few months, she's gotten more clients. And I said, but you have like 5 more clients than you did when we first started talking about this. And she said, yeah, you're right. Well, you know what? It's just like, I'm just so busy. There's just so much going on. I said, all right, take me through your life. What do you do on a daily basis? And she said, well, I do this and I do this, and that's about it. And I said, okay, well, what do you mean? What do you mean you're super busy? Like, you have like 7 other hours in the day. And we kept digging, we kept digging, we kept digging. Do you know why she's not happy? Because she doesn't feel like she's on purpose, and she's not super fulfilled, and she hasn't done the inner work yet. If you really want to find fulfillment, you have to do the inner work. It's not results driven. She could have all the clients in the world. She could have another 150,000 downloads, and that would help, but not really. It would make her feel good for a minute, and then she would have to find fulfillment again. There's another person I'm talking to, and the more inner work she does, and the more self-awareness she brings, and the more she reflects and forgives herself for her past, the more fulfilled she gets. Why? Because she's doing the hard work. I think fulfillment, part of it is knowing yourself at a deep level and understanding that there's parts of you that you're going to have to explore for the rest of your life, and being okay with it. There's something super empowering about saying, you know what? I'm going to look into my past. I'm going to face my own demons, and I'm going to leave the pain behind, and I'm going to take the lessons. There's something empowering and fulfilling about that. So if you really want to find fulfillment, joy, happiness, success in your life, Do not be afraid to do the inner work. It's a requirement. It genuinely is. Difficult, yes, but also uber fulfilling.
So I'll keep this anonymous too, always. I love to respect everyone's privacy, but I remember I was on the phone with another client, and she had 4 different jobs, 5, including some of the work that she was doing with me. And I remember asking, like, which is the most fulfilling of your 5 jobs? She was like, oh, by far this. She works with horses. And I said, okay, what's the least fulfilling? And she's like, well, I work at this dough packing plant, and like I love the people, but honestly, it's not really that fun. I said, okay, just get rid of that one. And I said it so simply that she was a little taken off guard. Like, what do you mean just get rid of it? I said, yeah, just get rid of it. It's not aligned. Take that time and reallocate it towards the horsey stuff.
Horsey stuff.
Yeah. You love horses more than meat packing, right? Or dough packing. Dough packing. She's like, yeah, by far. I said, so just get rid of that one. And the thing is her business has grown by like 30%. The horse thing is her own business since then. You have to get rid of the stuff that's outside of alignment so that the universe can provide. That sounds a little too woo-woo. Let me make this more practical. All right. You only have so much time in a day. Okay? You have 16 hours if you sleep 8. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So in those 16 hours, you have persons, places, things, and ideas. If you want a new life, you actually have to eliminate the old persons, places, things, and ideas to create the time to progress in the other ones. This is why most entrepreneurs aren't in shape. It's very, very hard to run a business and be in shape. Being in shape is like a full-time job, and anyone who is in shape would tell you that, unless they're really early in their life and they're just naturally genetically gifted. But especially as you get older, like I'm 33, like it becomes more and more challenging. Like the body doesn't stay in shape by itself. So entrepreneurs who have a fitness business are typically, I would love to see the statistics on this, are typically in way better shape than the people who have like, I don't know, a tech company. In the tech industry, there's very few people in shape. I understand why. A lot of them are at their computer, right? They're not athletes. So you just have to understand you only have so much time. Fulfillment is about being way more discerning with where you're investing your time, which is your only resource. I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it one last time. One last time. I'll probably keep saying it. If you live 100 years on this planet, that's 36,500 days. If you could only ever have $36,500 in your bank account and you could never make another dollar, how carefully and meticulously would you spend that money? See, but yet we're giving our days away all the time. There's a book by Lucius Seneca, a Roman philosopher, called On the Shortness of Life. It will wake you up. It woke me up. I also read that after my car accident at 26. Fulfillment is about alignment. It's about optimization. It's about personal development. It's about understanding your uniqueness and contributing to the world. Very last point, because we got to go to Q&A. Fulfillment is a byproduct of living in your calling. And this is an example that I wrote down. Books for Babes, okay, is one of the most fulfilling things Emilia and I have ever done. One of the most challenging things. So last year, we literally were with her family, and we were basically packing books in boxes and wrapping them in newspaper, recyclable newspaper, and nothing about that was easy. We could have been doing what most people are doing, and there's nothing against that, but we were working really hard. As a matter of fact, we worked all through Christmas for the most part. Obviously, we enjoyed some of it, but I remember being up at 1 a.m. on Christmas Eve, and we were like delivering boxes of books for this charitable initiative because people invested their hard-earned money. We raised over $1,000, and we went and bought books. A lot of people donated books. It was unbelievable. But this is my main point. This isn't about Emilia. This isn't about me. This isn't about Kevin. This is about fulfillment. This is about fulfillment. Fulfillment is a lot about contribution. It's when we're contributing beyond ourselves, we feel fulfilled. A lot of that was not pleasurable. A lot of that was hard work. It was cold. It was dark. It was 1 a.m. The boxes are heavy. You know, it was dangerous a little bit because it's like, you know, we really shouldn't probably do this late. But it was super fulfilling. And just remember that contribution and maximizing your own potential is really the only way you're going to be fulfilled. The world, and I have this written down too, and we'll move on to Q&A. Fulfillment escapes most people because we live in a world and an economy that focuses too much on pleasure and not enough on fulfillment. Okay, most of the apps on your phone, we've interviewed Neri Al. He wrote the book called Hooked. He did a lot of the work with the social media companies to help get us hooked on social media. Scrolling on Instagram will never fulfill you. Never. Okay? Doing deep, meaningful work that's in alignment with your highest level of growth and contribution will. Just, we all have pleasure in our lives and we all need some pleasure, but try to get more percentage towards the fulfillment side, and that's what we wanted to help everybody with today.
I've been waiting, strong work, I've been waiting on this little joke for this entire time. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
After this, well, I should save it for the end, but after this, I'm going to be fulfilling my belly with pizza. And here's Amy.
Hell yeah.
Calorie track, though. I'm going to track the calories, I promise.